I started this chapter of my life as an executive coach, although I didn't understand at the time that it was called executive coaching. I was building a computer-controlled baby bassinet and working for a public company, and the directors decided to do something strategically that resulted in the complete obliteration of the business and actually triggered the closing of my design business and a personal bankruptcy. It was a horribly destructive, distressful time of my life, and I started getting curious about personal growth and how people actually came to make decisions. And again, I didn't understand it was coaching back then, but I knew it was going to be different than being a design consultant. And because I wanted at some point in my life to be a mountain guide, I just thought about it as a mountain guide for entrepreneurs. I went to an introductory session of a personal growth course, and the founder of that company used to be a venture capitalist in San Francisco back in the 70s. And he was a very analytical, studious man. And he figured out through the years that the entrepreneurs that tended to do the best and were the best bets and the least risky people to invest in were the ones that tended to know themselves the best. And that idea I found it just was really enticing as an idea. And I just started my personal work. And through the decline of my design business and shutting that down, and my ascent into personal growth through taking all these courses, I eventually started a coaching business. And that was about 25 years ago. Eventually spent time working with a lot of entrepreneurs, starting to expand into working with their teams, and came to the conclusion that to make a real impact, we needed to think holistically, not just about the entrepreneur, but the entrepreneur's personal life, their relationships with their senior leadership team, how they created value through an ecosystem of employees and investors and customers and vendors, and how all that whole system works. It's incredibly complex, and it lives and dies and succeeds or fails based on how well that lead entrepreneur, and by extension his or her team, comes to know who they are. And that's how the blind spotting idea came about. We eventually moved into working with venture capital and PE sponsored companies, private equity sponsored companies, as a way to basically ensure that the companies that we were working with had the best chance of becoming something useful. And as I headed into middle age, I got increasingly interested in what's going on in my country and how entrepreneurship could and also wasn't contributing to the fabric of long-term sustainability in our nation. As I've been working to build this current team and think through our software solutions and our coaching practices, it just became abundantly clear to me that coaching has a huge potential impact on how business environments get created, how leaders can learn to be very effective, and how those two things come to have a huge impact on how engaged people are and ultimately how well they perform. And that's our business, changing the lives of the people, changing the world.